Hey everybody, welcome back to NC State Dendrology. Sorry we're a little late with the Calycanthus video. So I'm shooting this here in the Gardner Arboretum, and the shrub is Calycanthus floridus, which is called sweet shrub, also called Carolina allspice or bubby bush. The bubby bush name comes from the fruit, which is really kind of a strange fruit. It's an achene fruit, but they're gathered in clusters inside of this kind of a fleshy, I guess, a husk, but it's fleshy, it's not hard. And so it was used as a sachet for necklaces during colonial times. Women would hang them between their bubbies to try to convince themselves that they didn't actually need a bath, which was considered dangerous at the time. So Carolina allspice, sweet shrub. It is a very sweet shrub, so the leaves are aromatic, very sweet smelling, and this is an opposite tree or shrub. So the oops, I accidentally broke off this branch. So the leaves are pretty nondescript, right? So they are maybe what you'd call elliptical to ovate, right? Sometimes they're a little wider at the base, sometimes they're equally widest at the middle. And then they have these long acuminate tips. So I talked about this a little bit when I was talking about primitive flowering plants. Calycanthaceae is a tropical family, and these long acuminate drip tips are very common in the tropics where rainfall is abundant. And it is an opposite leaved shrub, so both the leaves are opposite as well as the branching pattern. So looking at the branching pattern here. And this reddish brown stems is very typical for Carolina sweet shrub or Carolina allspice. If you look at the node, it's actually pretty unique. It's a swollen leaf node with the little twigs inserted, so that's a really good character for the winter time if you're trying to identify it. And you know, otherwise it does get to be a very tall shrub. It's pretty common, so not a hard or unusual species to find. You can also see for the leaves that they are entire. They do not have any toothing. So we were talking about this today in lab, and I think the only species you might confuse it with is one of the cornus, right? Maybe Cornus amomum. But I think if you look at the veins, right, the vein pattern is pretty different from cornus. It has pretty prominent veins. They're not arcuate like they are in cornus. And then these dark brown twigs and the aromatic like really aromatic twigs as well as leaves. So, but both opposite, so something to keep in mind. We don't learn that many opposite leaf trees and shrubs. The flowers for this plant are also very distinctive. They're burgundy, dark burgundy red. And they have these beautiful petals. They're perfect flowers, right? These are the more primitive families. So it has many petals, many sepals, many stamens, and it varies from either having no smell at all to being extremely sweet smelling. My mother-in-law had huge numbers of these on the coast in the Francis Marion National Forest in South Carolina, and she described the smell as cherry lifesavers. I've also heard the smell described as smelling like cantaloupe. So a very, very sweet smell if it has it, and that sweet and spicy smell is also evident to some degree if you scratch and sniff the twigs or crush the leaves. So check that out next time you see it. Like I said, this one's in the Gardner Arboretum. And and in his travels, right, Calycanthus is a pretty old family, and it was described pretty early by colonists here in the United States. And John Bartram, or William Bartram, writes about it in his book Travels. And I was actually walking on a trail, the War Woman Trail, out near where North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia meet, out near Ellicott Rock. And it was a trail that Bartram had written about, you know, on this waterfall. And he talks about Calycanthus growing in odoriferous groves. So I've been in places where there's like a big understory, thick understory in the mountains of sweet shrub. But this tree is found throughout the state. Like I said, not super common, but also not rare. And that's Carolina allspice, sweet shrub, or bubby bush.